Welcome back. It's been a while. I've not even picked up this camera for about 10 or 11 weeks. Absolutely mental. I hope everyone's been doing as well as you can do in these circumstances. So what is this? What are we doing? We are trying to reconnect, and I am trying to remember how to use all of this jazz. I've managed to pick probably the worst place to come walk in. We are all trying to keep our social distancing. Which way's up? Which way's down? In reconnecting. That's what this is about. I've even got a little list on my phone to remind me what I need to say. You're gonna have to excuse when we get into some light here the quarantine cuts. I hope everyone out there is rocking the self-cut locks. I don't think we did too bad a job over here. I have seen some disasters though, not going to mention names. I'm trying to come up with something to talk about rather than just a random waffling on my behalf, and I realised there's something that we haven't talked about. My switch from DSLR to mirrorless. I'm not going to jump into a full-on review right here. I think we're going to save that for another time, but what I will give you is 5 things that I've noticed since switching. There is people down there. If I socially distance up this little cut through, we can avoid all of that. And that little avoiding maneuver pulled off perfectly. Number 1 is the viewfinder. I'm not talking about the little flip out LCD screen here. What I'm actually talking about is the eyepiece. The eyepiece? Eye viewfinder? I don't know what it's called. If I looked in the manual, I could probably tell you exactly what it was. Or, insert me here. It's an EVF, electronic viewfinder. Yeah, that's what it's actually called. Top marks. What I like about it is that what you see is what you get. It's not a true pass-through. You're seeing what the camera is seeing. There are situations with the old 77D that I had, that what you saw through the viewfinder was quite a bit different to what you captured. I like that any changes in ISO or shutter speed is reflected straight away through that eyepiece. Do it again. Really? It's an EVF? Yeah, gotcha. You know it wasn't one of my videos unless I got beamed up by the light there. This little bit here is quite scenic. Luckily no one here, no one else wanting to enjoy it. Being able to see exactly what you're going to get in the results is so undervalued. And looking back on it, if I was to tell myself a couple of things that would have eased my worry about spending some money on a new camera, that probably would have been number 1. Number 2 has got to be the size and the finish and the build quality, and the weight as well, really. I'm here using the 24-105 lens that came with the RP, and the lens is probably somewhere close to double the weight of the camera body itself. I love having a slimmer, more portable, less chunky mirrorless body, especially when in my case there was no downsides in picture quality, and actually for me it was a step from a crop sensor to a full frame sensor, so plus for that. I like how it feels quite dense, probably more like a, you know how you feel your smartphone, that feels, there's a density to it, it feels reassuring, whereas my 77D wasn't, don't get me wrong, it wasn't an expensive camera, but it did feel a little bit cheap. Another small bonus point for me was that the battery was exactly the same size as the one from the 77D, so I'd already had a whole host of batteries that could just go straight in. Now, next up is probably one of the big drivers behind my move to this camera specifically. and I wouldn't have switched if it wasn't for the included lens here. It's the f4 24-105. It's got incredible stabilization, and paired up with the RP, the autofocus is just brilliant, just absolutely brilliant. I've said before and I'll say it again, Jesus, take the lead. And it does it. Why was this lens so important? For me, it's my first ever L lens, and a lot of people say that takes things to a whole new level, and there's sort of a mysticism about it, that unless you have an L lens, you're not really doing it correctly. I'm not really that much persuaded by it. It is very good, but for me it's more about how it's married up to this machine more than the individual lens itself. It is a very good lens, don't get me wrong. The stabilization is probably the absolute king for me. Obviously the RP doesn't have any built-in stabilization, and all of this work that we're doing here is handheld, and I'm walking. And I don't know about you, but I don't have the steadiest of arms when I'm at arm length holding the camera. The lighting has been on and off like a switch. So that's another thing. We're going to see how the auto ISO works, because there was no way I was going to be able to be doing this with the ND filter all day. It wouldn't have been good for me, and it would not have been good for you. And next up is just purely aesthetics. I really like the look of this camera. It's a really nice shape, it's small, it's not unwieldy. If I was completely comfortable talking like a madman into a lens by myself, I'd have no problem in taking this out in public pretty much everywhere. It is bigger than a point and shoot, and with this massive lens on the end of it, it really doesn't look holiday snapper-ish, but with a little 50mm lens and the adapter, this thing definitely isn't unwieldy, and it gives you a lot of confidence, and I don't feel restricted by it by having to hold a massive big body. There was another one, let me have a look. Ooh. Controls. Now, controls will be a subjective one depending on brand. This one in particular, and paired with this lens in particular, the control system is incredible. 3 dials really, and you can have one for ISO, one shutter speed, and the other one for aperture. The control ring on the lens, it takes a little bit to program yourself to say, I don't need to hit a button and then switch, but once you do, it is such a liberating thing. Just to be able to adjust it when you're looking through the viewfinder, and it's automatically showing you exactly what the camera sees. It's lovely. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I think of my switch to a mirrorless camera. Do I regret it? No. Would I have done it if I didn't find a decent deal on it? Absolutely I wouldn't have. No way. No way. There's one thing that I think this camera does better than my previous one, and it's the reason why we're doing this now. It gives you the motivation when you don't have any. You see this on the shelf or on the desk and you say, damn, I'd like to go out and use that. It seems to be able to give you a connection to what you're shooting, and that brings us round really nicely to the broader story of this video, about reconnecting, about reigniting. I'm sure there's others like me that started down paths and lockdown happened, Corona happened, and it stopped. It stopped, boom. The sales are gone, the motivation is no longer there. And yeah, I've been deep in that spirit myself. I'm interested to see how people have been managing. Have you taken on any sort of home projects? Have you learned new skills? Have you ticked off things from that long overdue to-do list? Maybe you've discovered a new passion. Maybe a new interest, a home hobby. Maybe you've just spoken to family or friends that you probably should have phoned a long time ago. It's about reconnection, and I really do hope that if there's one positive that can come out, if there's one positive that can come out of the whole corona situation, is that we value connection a little bit more than we used to. There's a line in an Armin van Buuren song that says, everyone's connected, but no one's connecting. For a decent amount of time, that was 100% true. We all had WhatsApp, we all had Facebook, well I didn't, Twitter, you know, social media, the rest of it. But were we actually connecting with anyone? You're forced to be within your own company for an extended period of time. You really do start to realise how much you just miss interactions, just miss connecting. And so that was it. That was my video about reconnecting. What can you expect next from me? Maybe an in-depth review of this camera. Maybe a how-to, or perhaps it may even just be a genuine adventure. If you've been just like I was up until about 20 minutes ago, where you feel like you're not even stuck in the mud, that there's no mud there, my message is reconnect with what you like to do. But for now, my name's Andrew. It feels incredible to reconnect. Thanks for watching. Wow, I actually feel quite nervous about this. It's like going to meet a friend after a long time of not seeing each other.